Apart from these, there are some other organs in the male body. They are the accessory glands. They are the seminal vesicles and the prostate glands. The seminal vesicles and the prostate glands provide certain fluids that help the sperms to move, and at the same time, they provide nutrition to the sperms. Then you will have the urethra, which is a common passage for the urine as well as the sperms in the male body. The urethra is also a part of the urinary system or the excretory system, you have learned, but that is again the path through which the urine passes as it leaves the bladder and exits the body. At the same time, through the urethra only, the sperms also pass. Apart from that, we have the penis. The penis is the organ through which the sperms are released in the male body. Now we go over to the human reproductive system, that is the female. In a female body, what all structures are there? Let us see. The human female has a reproductive system that is located in the lower part of the abdomen or in the abdominal cavity. The external part of the female reproductive system also includes the following structures. The first one is the vulva, that means the outer covering. The labia, that is the lips, which are the two pairs of the skin labs that surround the vaginal opening. Apart from that, we have a very important gland in the female body, that is the ovary. The ovaries are the major reproductive gland in the female body. Like corresponding to the testis in the male body, we have the ovary in the female body. Now, what do the ovaries look like? They are the internal reproductive organs in the female body. What do they look like? What are the structures? What are their functions? That we will be studying in detail. The ovaries are actually structures that are joined to tube-like structures, as you can see on the screen, by the oviduct or the fallopian tube. The ovaries also help in the release of eggs in the female body. Along with the eggs, they also release a very important hormone called the estrogen. Called the estrogen. The estrogen is a hormone that helps to release the eggs, and at the same time, they also regulate the development of secondary sexual characters in a female body. Let us learn about the structure of the female reproductive system in little more detail. Some parts like the vagina, cervix, etc. are the internal reproductive organs in the female body, about which you need not study in detail in this class. But then you have to know about the uterus. What is the uterus? The uterus is a thick lined bag, muscular walled bag that contains some of the strongest muscles in the female body. These muscles can expand and contract, and they can accommodate a growing fetus, and it also helps to push the baby out during the delivery. So uterus plays a very important role to provide nutrition for the growing baby. Apart from that, you have the fallopian tubes. They are also called the oviduct. Two in number, two fallopian tubes are there, each attached to the size or side of the uterus. Within each tube, there is a tiny passage, and the other end of the tube is an area that looks like a funnel, as you can look on the screen. Then I told you about the ovaries. They are two oval-shaped or spherical organs that lie on the upper and the left side, upper right and left side of the uterus. They produce eggs. They store the eggs. They release the eggs into the fallopian tube by a process called ovulation. So these are the internal structures of the ovary. The internal structures in the female reproductive system. Now we go over to the human reproduction, that is called fertilization. What is fertilization? Fertilization is a fusion of the male, that is the sperms, male gametes or the sperm, and the female gametes, that is the eggs, to produce a new organism. In animals, the process involves a sperm, as I told you, fusing with an ovum, and it leads to the formation of zygote. There are two types of fertilization. They are external fertilization and internal fertilization. Internal fertilization is occurring in certain animal species like human beings when the process occurs inside the body of the female. Example, human beings. But in some other animals, the process occurs outside the body of the female. That is called external fertilization, as you can see in the case of frogs, toads, amphibians, fishes, etc. This process takes place. So you have learned about two types of fertilization, external and internal fertilization. Now we go over to the development of the embryo. I told you that as a result of fertilization, a zygote is formed. This carries the genes coming from both the parents, the father as well as the mother. That is how we look similar to our parents, because we are getting the genes from both of them. This single cell zygote goes on dividing repeatedly and it forms an embryo. The embryo in the advanced stage, say after about 3 or 4 months, it is called the fetus. In the humans, the fetal stage begins at about 8 weeks after fertilization, when the structures like the eyes, brain, heart, hands, legs, etc. are formed. And even the organ systems start developing. Okay, so with that, like that, development of the embryo occurs. Now we go over to two types of animals. You're all familiar, viviparous and oviparous. When the development of the embryo may take place outside the body or inside the body, I told you. Accordingly, sometimes the classification can be into viviparous and oviparous animals. What are viviparous and what are oviparous animals? Let us learn. Viviparous animals are those in which the embryo develops entirely within the mother and not from the egg. Viviparous offsprings live independently and they require external food supply from the birth. Like we are all called viviparous animals. This is the reproductive mode for nearly all mammals, many reptiles, and few fishes. That means we give birth to our young ones directly. There is no need of laying eggs. The babies are born inside, developed inside the body of the mother. Then what are oviparous animals? They are egg-laying animals. There will be little or no development of embryo within the mother. This is a reproductive way of many animals like birds, amphibians, insects, many reptiles, and fishes. Mostly they are all oviparous because they are egg-laying, whereas we human beings are viviparous. One of the advantages to giving birth to live young, that is the viviparous, is that the mother protects the fetus inside her body. The developing fetus means a newborn, unborn baby derives nutrition from the mother's body and it receives all the nourishment that it needs, and so it has got a complete development inside the body, but that is possible only in the case of viviparous animals. Now we go over to the development of the newborn baby. The development of an animal after its birth or coming out or after it comes out from the egg is not the same in all organisms. They are also classified as two types of development, direct development or indirect development. I mean, sometimes the organisms directly give birth, change into the adult form, and sometimes they indirectly change. Let us learn about direct development. In some cases, the young one differs from the adult in many other details. They don't have proper sex organs. This kind of development is said to be direct. There is no larval stage, no metamorphosis is taking place. Instead, however, direct development does not mean that no changes occur between birth and adulthood. Okay, some changes definitely take place, but then there are no stages in between. So what do you mean by indirect development? Let us learn. Human beings are typical examples of this type of development. Which one? Direct development. Now let us learn about some indirect development. Let us look on the screen. As you can see on the screen, the frogs are laying eggs. From the eggs, you have got the tadpole or the larva or the tadpole stage coming out, and then the tadpole becomes an adult. So they undergo a long route to reach the adult stage. So the sequence of stages is called metamorphosis. The newly hatched ones are not similar to the parents. This process is called metamorphosis and it is found in the amphibians and some insects.